Canadian House Hippo is a creature that you really need to be aware of.
Ontario, Canada, what is good? It is a delight to be here in your lovely city, in your lovely province, in your lovely country. I'm very excited to be at this show. Got a couple of things to talk about at the top really quick because we have a lot of book stuff to get into, but there's a couple of things that happened and I gotta talk about them in Toronto. I learned you guys got a black toonie for the Queen dying? What's going on? You know she's not like the Canadian Queen, right? What do you, yeah, she is. What are you talking about? Come on. I'm baffled. I am baffled by your religion. Okay, who's one person who feels very confident? Okay, great.
We're a Commonwealth of England.
But like, don't the Commonwealths like not like England? Isn't that the whole thing? You guys kind of like them? They spell color wrong. Or no, you spell it the same way, don't you? Ooh, okay. Touchy subject. Anyway.
Because of the printing press.
Oh yeah, we're efficient. Speaking of efficiency, I gotta get through all of these top banter bits at the top of the show. Also, I'm very glad that I finally have learned after all it took was doing one live show here and talking about promoting them for, months and months on end, to learn that I shouldn't call this city Toronto, but Toronto, without the second T. And it's wild that it took me so long to recognize that because I am from New Jersey, which is a state in America. And the capital of New Jersey is Trenton, which is spelled Trenton, but if you say the second T in Trenton, you are the police. And I'm baffled that it took me so long to realize, I should just be saying Toronto. And then, of course, a couple weeks ago, I did a show in Atlanta, but apparently I didn't do a show in Atlanta. I did a show in Atlanta. So I gotta learn, there's so many cities where they have a second T, and we're just thinking, okay, no, we don't say that. Let's see, is there anything else to talk about at the top? Oh, yeah. So the final important thing to talk about before the show, I had food in Greektown today in Toronto. I went to this really good place called Athens Bar or Athens Taverna, something. They're not paying me to say this, but I went there and I had some pork fricassee and it slapped and I feel energized with Greek food running through my veins. I had Greek food for lunch and I had a Tim Hortons salad, it does exist, for dinner. So I am perfectly amped for the Canadian Percy Jackson show. So let's get into it. All right. We've got a lot to discuss. I honestly don't know if we'll make it through these two chapters because they're so long, but let's try to get right to it. We have a very special guest for this discussion because I'm never on this journey alone. So please make some noise for our guest for tonight's show. It's TNO's designated Canadian, Genna Buck! Wearing the meddling adults Idaville baseball tee. I love it.
Pretend I know how to play baseball.
I should have, if I'd known you weren't, I would have brought some to bring at the merch table because I have some at home. But anyway, how are you?
I am so happy to be here. Hello, everyone.
Now, this is your second time on the podcast, meaning we get to ask you the second time guest question, which is, what cabin, I guess we'll have to say at this point in time, what Camp Half-Blood cabin would you be sorted into if you were to be sorted into a Camp Half-Blood cabin?
I would be a child of Demeter.
Ooh, okay.
Because I love carbs. She's the goddess of the hearth, which is, sitting around the fire.
Isn't that Hestia? Not to, actually.
Well, like the oven, like the bread, right?
Okay, oh, sure.
Yeah. To me, it's the closest thing that we have to the god of hanging out, which is what I would truly be aligned with.
Okay.
I'm not like Dionysus, like the partying. I don't want to do sports.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do battles.
Mm-hmm.
I want to eat bread
You
and
wanna
hang out.
Bake bread in the corner. I like it.
I am a child of Demeter.
Amazing. I love that. Well, let's get into these 2 chapters of The Son of Neptune. We're going to be covering chapters 3 and 4. Chapter 3 is called Percy, funnily enough, but of course we will retitle it by the time we get to the end of chapter 3. Now, where we last left our heroes, quite a bit going on, but basically, Percy's at Camp Jupiter now, and it's wild. So, I was, first off, very excited to see that chapter 3 had Percy at the top, because I was so used to The Lost Hero, it being 2 chapters per narrator, I didn't recognize that we were going to have a 4 in a row, or at least, as far as I've seen 4 in a row, maybe it just keeps going. It's just Percy the whole time.
As far as I've seen as well, because I refuse to go into the house that has the trapdoor in it. I read along with the podcast.
Beautiful.
I have read the bittiest little bit ahead just because the audiobook got ahead of me a tiny bit. So I could spoil you for 4 paragraphs, probably.
Okay, well, perfect. The
It is wild so far what we've seen here.
So yes, wild stuff going on, but I was excited that it's still Percy. Now, chapter 3 begins with, quote, Percy wasn't scared of ghosts, which was lucky. Half the people in the camp were dead. And I just wrote, what? There was already a lot going on. Now half the people are dead? And apparently, according to narrator Percy, they are shimmering purple warriors that are all about. They're outside the armory, polishing ethereal swords. Then there's other purple ethereal folk. There is a ghost boy chasing a ghost dog. And then there's a glowing red guy with a wolf head guarding a herd of unicorns. Camp Jupiter, what is going on? A lot.
I really like this because it's something about going to Camp Jupiter after going to Camp Half-Blood. It made me think about the Canada-US border. Everything's
Okay, do tell.
Just a little wrong.
Uh-huh.
Everything's slightly different than you're used to.
Is there a particular side, or you're saying in either direction?
Oh, no, I don't know which is which. Maybe Camp Jupiter's a little American because it, to me, feels unfamiliar. But to you, maybe it would be like Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see it. It is funny, and we'll get into it in this chapter of just like, the exact flip of, in the first book, everything that made Jason different, they were like, wow, that's weird. And then on the exact opposite, they're like, oh, you don't have a cool tattoo? Weirdo. So it's
Look at your weird naked arms.
It's such a fun set of chapters. Now, the campers don't really acknowledge the ghosts, but the ghosts all stop and stare at Percy when he and his crew of him, Raina, Frank, and Hazel walk by. That's basically where we're at. They're kind of showing him around the camp. Some of these ghosts look angry. The ghost boy then apparently said, quote, something like Gregus and turned invisible, according to narrator Percy. And I wrote, what Latin word could Gregus be similar to? And then I was going to look it up later, but a couple sentences later, Percy gets into it, so I didn't have to do it. Now, Percy is envious of this ghost kid's ability to vanish because he's uncomfortable with all the attention that he's been getting after weeks and weeks of being on his own, fending off Gorgons and surviving. He starts to ask if they are ghosts, but then Hazel finishes a sentence by stating that they are lairs, aka house gods. And Percy, ever the New Yorker, asks, like smaller than real gods, but larger than apartment gods?
I love when Uncle Rick gets a little jokey joke in there. Like,
and I missed this. Like, we still had
per sassy, he's alive and well. Even with no memory, he still knows he's sassy.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Very good. I missed these sorts of little tiny joke things, like Percy not being afraid to ask a question and sound kind of ridiculous. And that level of humor being in the mix is fun. Not that there wasn't humor in the first book, but just like there's something about Percy's brand of humor that I really connect with, and I'm glad that it's back.
It's called dad jokes.
Yes. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. I've always loved those.
Yeah.
Frank clarifies that they are ancestral spirits, and he removes his helmet while doing so. And narrator Percy notes that he has a baby face, which doesn't match his muscular built frame or his military haircut. Quote, he looked like a toddler who'd taken steroids and joined the Marines.
I'm picturing Boss Baby for the rest.
Oh, it's good.
For the rest of the chapter.
Yeah.
I also love the household spirits because those household spirits have so many traditions.
Such as?
Like the domovoi in Slavic tradition. Maybe some of you have these little guys that in mythology, they stay in your house and you might have to make sacrifices to them. You've got your lobs and hubs. In English tradition, you've got your gashin in Korea. Might be saying that wrong, but that's universal culturally.
Is there not a Canadian one where you put a little poutine fry?
The poutine. Oh, the house hippo.
What's a house hippo? I'm so excited.
The Canadian house hippo is a creature that you really need to be aware of. It's a real thing. They eat little crumbs.
Okay.
They stay in your gym bag.
Ooh.
And like if you go into your they leave little tracks around. Yeah, and if you're missing something in your house hippo could have it. No,
Okay.
it's a real thing. It's like
So it's like a thing that you like blame if something's gone missing. Like, oh, I don't know who ate your cookies. It must have been the house hippo.
It's a thing. It's there.
There's a real one. I'm just
It's
making
real.
sure it's a cool thing that like people do and not like a corporate like elf on a shelf thing.
Oh, it's worse than that.
Worse than elf? Nothing is worse than elf on a shelf.
It's the government.
It's the government? Oh.
Yeah, the house hippo is a government agent. Yeah. Yeah, he's an agent of the surveillance state. Yeah.
Wikipedia says that the house hippo is a fictitious, species.
I tried. Guys, I was doing my best. I really was. I was trying. I don't have the juice that whoever made that commercial has. Because as far as I knew, the house hippo was real.
The house hippo is a fictitious species of hippopotamus and the subject of a Canadian television public service announcement produced by Concerned Children's Advertisers in May 1999 and reintroduced by Media Smarts in 2019.
It's a PSA for don't believe everything you see on TV.
Oh.
I was really trying to get you. I was like, it's a real species.
The Hidden World of the House Hippo was the winner of the Golden Marble Award in the category of Best Public Service Advertising in 1999. This award recognizes, quote, outstanding achievement in kids advertising. This is going to be the whole show, so we have to move on.
It's really too bad we can't put it up on a screen because it is a classic of Canadian media.
Amazing. I know what I will be deep diving with after the show. So anyway, we have Percy Jackson noting that this kid, Frank, looks like a toddler on steroids. Frank says the layers are like mascots. He says they are normally pretty chill, but this is the most riled up that he's ever seen them. And Percy asks why the ghost kid called him Gregus, because, quote, my name isn't Greg. Hazel corrects, and then everyone goes, oh, cool, I don't have to look this up later. He said Graecus, which means Greek. And she also says that once Percy is at Camp Jupiter for a while, he will start understanding Latin innately because demigods have a natural sense for it. I am very excited about this development. Percy.
I have a tiny inkling. I feel like I have a small memory of you, maybe.
I took it in high school.
Yeah,
I took it in high school.
That's it, yeah.
Percy asks if being called Greek is bad, and Frank says that it might not be, which is an interesting way of saying yes.
It's a slur, yeah.
Maybe not. Frank says that the kid probably called him that due to his physical appearance. Says, quote, maybe they think you're actually Greek. And Frank doesn't know what's going on with Percy, so that's fun. He asks Percy if his family is from Greece, and Percy says, I don't know anything. So I'm not going to be able to answer this question. And then Frank goes, or maybe, and stops. But Percy, of course, makes him continue, which I appreciate about Percy. And Frank says, probably nothing, definitely something. Probably nothing. Romans and Greeks have an old rivalry. Sometimes Romans use Graecus as an insult for someone who's an outsider, an enemy. I wouldn't worry about it. And then narrator Percy says, you sounded pretty worried. And at first, I thought he was just going to straight up do the entire plot twist that was at the very end of The Lost Hero, where it's like, oh, the demigods of the two camps have had this rivalry and it's been hidden forever. And I was like,
time
wow.
immemorial. Yeah.
Yeah, chapter 3, the Romans were like, oh yeah, we hate those guys.
It seems like half of them don't know about it.
Right, so I think instead what we have here is him trying to explain just it could be used as an insult. But it is funny how he was so close to being right about what is actually going on.
Just getting there, yeah.
Just missed it. So the crew then stops in the middle of camp at a place where a stone road crosses with another one to form a T, and then there's a street sign that identifies the road to the main gates as Via Praetoria, and the other, which cuts across the center of the camp, as Via Principalis. Now, the other key things on the signage here, and Uncle Rick says it looks like a Berkeley 5 Mile, which is a very specific reference to a type of street sign we'll see in Berkeley, California. It was one of those things where I'm like, wow, Rick, I know about these because I lived in Berkeley, but no one here is going to know what's going on. I'm trying to think if there is a famous enough international sign. I don't know how famous
I was
US
thinking of the Land's End
signs.
sign in England, in Cornwall.
Oh, okay.
Where it's it tells you, it's at the very, very, I guess, western. coast of England, and it's like there's this many miles to America and
Right.
this many miles to John O'Groats, which is on the opposite side. There's a family picture of my great-grandparents there, so that's what I was picturing. I feel like that's kind of a famous sign.
Yeah, and that's basically what a Berkeley 5 Mile is, just like a little less unhinged.
Yeah, that's so random.
I'm trying to just
It's like,
make sure
this is
before-
just like the sidewalk tiles in Pittsburgh. Like, what?
It's so obscure that I've
And he's
Googled...
not from there. He's from
Well, so
is he
apparently...
from Texas?
He is, but apparently he also worked and lived in the Bay Area, because
Okay.
I made a joke on the podcast where I was like, oh, this guy doesn't know anything about the Bay. And then someone was
does,
like,
yeah.
he lived there for many years.
Longer than your
Ooh,
life,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry. It's so apparently not a thing that I've Googled Berkeley 5 Mile, and on Google Images, nothing showed up. But I'm pretty sure it's like one of those signs
Don't
that has like
forget,
arrows going in different
Google also
directions.
doesn't work anymore.
Oh, because I'm in Canada. Google.ca. Ah! Anyway, it's one of those signs that have arrows pointing to a lot of different things. And on this list are New Rome, 1 mile away. Old Rome, 7,280 miles away.
Good bit.
Hades, pointing straight down, 2310. Reno,
It's hot down there.
Reno, 208 miles away. And I'm thinking, Reno feels like a weird city to pull. Like it might show up later in the series. Like I don't know if this is
good
their entrance to the underworld, like how we have DOA records in Los Angeles, but like Reno, and just to give the American context, not an important enough city to be like, we gotta know where Reno is. Apologies to everyone listening from Reno. And then also on the very bottom of the sign, it says certain death, you are here. And I was wondering if that was a joke that Percy was making because he's been going through a lot, or if the sign actually says it.
No.
And the next sentence clarifies.
It says that.
Because narrator Percy says, for certain death, the place looked pretty clean and orderly. So the sign does say it. Why is the sign so dramatic?
I think you see that if you're an outsider. I think if you don't have the tattoo, you see it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Even if that's not it, I like this theory
Headcanon,
a lot. Now, Percy looks and in the distance sees whitewashed buildings in a grid format. He sees barracks with shady porches. I love a porch. And different banners depending on the cabin. There's stores for food and weapons and toga rentals. And there's a chariot dealership with, quote, Caesar XLS with anti-lock brakes, no denarii down. Great joke. Love that. And apparently money is denarii, as we will see as the story continues.
And also, there's people here who are old enough to buy cars.
That's true. I didn't think of the implications there.
Yeah,
wow.
that's the first thing I thought of. Ooh.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Now,
That's not me, I swear.
now.
House Hippo.
Very good, very good, very good. So, it seems like Camp Jupiter is more of a town than just a camp. This is my read, nothing that the narrator said. This is just my vibes. Percy will get into it later. Percy then sees their headquarters, their version of the big house. And it is the Principia. If you're doing the legit Latin, you would call it like the Principia, because there's no soft C's in Latin. I learned that in high school. So, the Principia, which is a 2-story marble building with a columned portico like a fancy old school bank. There's guards out front, there's purple and gold on an SPQR banner overhead, and Raina tells all of the curious campers that followed along to disperse and to do their chores before war games after dinner. And I am very excited because 1, Percy can show them what's up in war games, and that will be very cool, and they will all respect him. But 2, I'm also very excited because there was no capture the flag in the last book.
I know.
We had other high-intensity things that happened early on, like the whole Grand Canyon situation, so we still had our action, but no true capture the flag. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, as a kid and now adult who made summer camp my entire personality, I love Capture the Flag. I'm very excited for the war games.
Yes, I don't know what they entail, but we will see. At the time of reading this, I was thinking maybe the war games are just the war games. And then later on, as the chapters go on, they're different. We will see that changes from my earlier thoughts when I was reading this chapter initially. Percy's super hungry, and the mention of dinner sends him into a tizzy. The crowd disperses, and some mutter things like, he's dead, and would be those 2 who found him, and let him join the 5th cohort, Greeks and Geeks. So apparently we have cohorts, and
Is
not
that funny because it
cabins.
rhymes? Is that funny because it's about the 1999 underground hit Freaks and Geeks? Like,
No, I think it's just rhyming. I think when you're this young, if you can just have 2 words that rhyme, cool. It's like how apparently an intense diss when you're in kindergarten is just like your name rhymes with a different word. Ho ho ho, loser.
I may know a little something about that.
Just a little bit with the teaching.
With my last name being Buck.
Oh
Yeah.
no, that
Yeah.
too.
I actually got Buck.
Is it because you're in Canada and they call you Hockey Puck? Anyway. We've got cohorts, and I'm also guessing, given the comment of those two, that Frank and Hazel must be like the quest-going type. Maybe they are kind of
kind of the cool kids.
I was gonna say they've got
clique. Yeah.
I was gonna say they've main character energy, but like real main character energy because we're talking about Buck.
Literally the main characters. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're in the running for being in the 7. I don't know who the full 7 are going to be, but like they're at least in contention. Snooty kid that made that comment, you're not in contention.
No way.
I'm sorry.
Peanut Gallery.
You did not make the cut. Now, some of the kids around giggled at the Greeks and geeks line, but Raina then glared at them, which got them to stop. So I'm wondering, is she in this cabin? Is she in this cohort?
I think she's just scary.
I do think she's just scary. That is a accurate description. Raina asks for Hazel to come with her to report on what happened at the gate. And Frank asks, should I go too? And then adds, quote, Percy saved my life. We've got to let him, but he doesn't finish the sentence. And I wish he would have finished the sentence.
Let him do what?
Raina interrupts to say, I'd remind you, Frank Zhang, you are on probation yourself. You've caused enough trouble this week. Now,
What did he do?
Of course, I want to know what he did, but I also think that this is a clever way to establish that Frank is Asian without being like, Frank, an Asian gentleman. Because like when you do a book, you got to do one of the two. You either got to say everybody's race every single time, because you can't do the thing where it's like, if you don't say it, they're white, and if you do say it, they're a person of color. So this is a good way.
The awkward description, or it's like the very straight black hair. Yeah.
Right.
No, I don't need to. Yeah.
So this is a clever way to do it, and then it also like makes sense with Raina's character, because very soon after she calls Percy Jackson full name, so it's not like she calls everyone by their first name and then she's like, hello, Frank Zhang, Asian camper. So I, of course, also want to know,
Harry
what did
Potter.
Frank do?
His name would be
God,
Chopsticks
oh my God,
McGee
don't
or
even, the diversity in Harry Potter, jeez, oh man. But she says, I'd remind you, Frank Zhang, you're on probation, you've caused enough trouble this week, and Frank gets a little bit embarrassed by this. He begins to fiddle with a necklace that he's wearing, which Percy thinks looks like a lead name tag, which is very
It says
interesting.
little tablet, so I was picturing an iPad.
So Raina sends him to the armory and says that she'll call him if needed. He then begins to protest, but stops himself and accepts. The remaining 3 head to the Principia, with Raina saying, now, Percy Jackson, let's see if we can improve your memory. So yes, she's a full first name, last name kind of person. And Percy is wowed by the Principia, thinking that it's somehow more beautiful on the inside than it was on the outside. We've got a big mosaic of Romulus and Remus and Lupa. We've got marble floors, velvet walls, banners with military medals on the wall, and there's an empty display stand in the center. Percy thinks, oh yeah, maybe it was like a banner taken down for cleaning, meaning it is not a banner that was taken down for cleaning.
Something that should be there. Also, Roman mosaics, stunning, and available for you to see at the Royal Ontario Museum.
Wow.
Which is here. You can get in with your library card. Did you know that? Yeah, anyways. Sidebar, we have some beautiful real Roman mosaics here in the city of Toronto.
Oh, okay, you're talking about like actual ones from, because I was going to be like, the New York subway also has mosaics.
No,
They're not
these
from Rome, but they
these
are pretty.
Actually from ancient Rome.
And you only have to pay $2.90 to go see them.
Classic Canadian inflation, that is $3.30 here.
Yeah, but it's $3.30 Canadian, which is like nothing.
5 cents. No, it's not.
It's like a dime. Ignore the merch table prices. I converted them and made it as close as I could be. So Percy then sees that there is a stairwell leading downwards, but there's iron bars, like prison bars, blocking it, making him wonder, what's down there? Is it monsters? Are there treasures? Are there demigods that got on Raina's bad side? And with all of the scary Raina-ness, because in the last episode, I was worried because I hadn't guessed that Raina was going to be one of the 7. I made like a big swing when Jason at the end of The Lost Hero was like, here are 4 friends that I remember. I tried to guess who the 7 were, and Raina didn't make the cut. So when she showed up in the previous chapter, I was like, man, she might be one of the 7. But I think at this point, she has a chance of not being one of the 7 and also being upset about it because she's giving off big Clarice energy.
I was just going to say Clarice 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
And is this someone who's going to like reform and we're going to come to love them, or are they just kind of a meanie and a baddie?
Or they're going to be Clarice in the books where we have so much growth and then now she's an allegory for a different person. But at this point, I just wrote giving big Clarice energy, honestly, and we'll learn more stuff about Raina as we continue. The table in the center has tools, weapons, and a jar of jelly beans, which they don't talk about for the rest of the chapter. And I was like, oh, clearly,
Chekhov's.
Percy Jackson will ask about the jelly beans.
And I was like, Chekhov's jelly beans. Like, these jelly beans are poison, or these jelly beans teleport you. Like, these jelly beans do something. I think they're just jelly beans.
For the rest of chapter 3, they're just jelly beans.
Very literal flavor text. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. On either side of a table in the room, we've got 1 gold and 1 silver statue of greyhounds. And Raina sits in a chair, and there's 1 empty one next to her. And Percy thinks, oh my God, please, can I sit in the chair? I'm so tired.
Poor baby.
Can I please sit in the chair? But he gets the feeling that he shouldn't because Hazel stays standing and doesn't sit down. So he thinks, oh, fine, I'll stand. I'll be a polite boy. So then Percy, after a beat, goes, so... And then the statues come to life and snarl at him.
I was just going to say, I want those statues, like put them in the home goods store right now, like take my money, but I changed my mind. reverse, Control Z.
Oh, Zed, we're in Canada. Percy, admitting that he is a dog lover, as in the narrator, says that he is spooked by their ruby eyes and sharp fangs. When he said I'm a dog lover, I was like, oh, right, Mrs. O'Leary. Can Mrs. O'Leary come to play? But
I miss her.
I do, too. He is scared by them. Raina calms them and assures Percy that they won't hurt him unless... A, she tells them to, or B, he steals something. He then introduces them as Argentum and Aurum, and everyone notes, silver and gold. And then Percy instinctively goes, silver and gold.
My high school French got me to the Argentum.
That's the
Argent.
joy
Yeah.
of Latin as the base of all romantic languages. You can kind of skate by in other languages. It helped me when I lived in France. And it does help me when I'm here and they've got all of
French signage.
Yep,
Yeah.
the French signage. I was like, sortie. Ah, yes, exit.
Yeah.
So Hazel must have been correct that Percy's instinctual Latin would come to play. It is coming to play. And the best, I've loved this so much. The next line is from narrator Percy. He goes, quote, he almost asked which dog was which. So good. So good. I love the honesty to admit to us that he had this thought, because it's definitely these types of thoughts in my brain all the time. But it would also be really funny if the dogs were named other things and the dogs like got offended, like, oh, I'm just Aurum because I'm gold. Oh, that's actually very offensive to my people. Percy can't help but think that he has seen Raina before. She's got a single black braid. She has the poise of a sword fighter, and she is relaxed but vigilant. And I was really trying to rack my brain if this would have been a character that we knew, but I'm not sure.
Did he see her in battle? You know, we got a hint that they were in the battle. Did he see her in battle? Like during the Battle of Manhattan, maybe? Because they were there, allegedly?
Well, they would have been...
Or they were in...
I would have thought they would have been
fighting on a
Jason's
different front.
crew,
Yeah,
fighting
yeah.
on for Mount Tam, Mount Althorus kind of stuff. So I'm not sure,
don't know.
but clearly this is something where it's
Or
going to come.
does she share a godly parent with someone he knows?
That's
and she
what-
resembles someone.
That's what I'm more
Yeah.
thinking of. So let's look at it one more time. Because he says the thing, single black braid, poise
braid.
of a sword fighter, relaxed but vigilant. Could that...
Wait, what if she's literally a sibling of Clarice?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just making stuff up now. I don't know anything. I literally
No.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, because we will learn, spoiler alert for later in the live show, that we learn that her mom is a goddess of war. So, like, maybe that's it. That's a good thought.
Or if Goddess of War, who's the Goddess of War? Help me, I forget.
The god of war?
Wait.
Well,
Who's her parent? I
Her
forget.
parent is some Roman one that I couldn't
We
even
don't
remember the
know.
name of.
That's why I can't remember, because we don't know.
It'll get there in the next chapter, I believe, but I don't think there was a god. I mean, unless you do
In one
Athena.
ear?
Yeah. Nah. Anyway, Percy Jackson for what we're doing. Percy, out loud says that he knows that they've met, but he cannot recall when. So maybe it's not just the
Or maybe they
resemblance
actually
thing.
met, yeah.
She brushes past this, meaning she might know, but she brushes past this to say that first he must share his story. So Percy explains everything that he can remember. He woke up at the Wolf House. He spent some time with Lupa. He then got into everything that Lupa taught him, that she's the guardian spirit of ancient Rome, and demigods like Percy need to carry on Roman traditions in modern times. And this includes fending off evil, serving the gods, saving mortals, and keeping the memory of the Roman Empire alive.
Same as my to-do list every day.
Yeah, it's just normal things that you do after you wake up. He trained with Lupa for weeks until he was as strong and as vicious as a wolf, and then she sent him on a journey south with the promise that he may find a new home and his memories. Raina seems unfazed by all of this except for one aspect, that he still doesn't remember anything. Percy says, bits and pieces here and there, and then he thinks about how he can remember Annabeth, but he doesn't share it. He is afraid to share it. He feels like, with Annabeth, that they met at camp, but he doesn't think that it was this camp. So Percy's starting to
There's a few things in there.
understand things
I think
a little bit.
it's very sweet. I'm sure the Percabeth lovers loved this because it's in the deepest recesses of his memory, right? Because he still has some of his implicit memory because he knows what a camp is. Right, he knows what gods are. He knows, like, he can read.
Yeah.
Right, so like he has memories, right?
It
he has
gives me-
procedural memory, like he remembers how to put his clothes on and stuff,
Huge.
right? Like, yeah.
It gives me hope for the Percy Annabeth thing because Jason, we don't know, at least I don't know at this point in time, the Jason-Raina dynamic, it's this weird thing of like maybe they had something going on.
Oh, yeah.
But it took Jason until the last chapter of the book to be like, oh, maybe I have a girlfriend. Whereas Percy, first chapter was like, I know there's this girl Annabeth and she's important, so I have higher hopes about them staying together. I do not have high hopes for Raina and Jason. Feels more like Jason and Piper are going to find a way to get together, but we'll just have to see. Nobody make any noises or say anything because I haven't read the books yet. Okay.
I was just thinking that over and over and over in Heroes of Olympus, we were hearing, or The Lost Hero, we were hearing that Piper was so worried that he might have a girl back home, and now we're finding out.
Jason wasn't worried at all, though. He was like, oh, this girl's hot. Yeah. I just got to make sure I'm not being weird. And then the last chapter, he was like, Raina. Oh,
wait a minute.
She's different than Hazel. So Percy is being guarded about the whole Annabeth experience, but particularly the one clear memory of Annabeth that he has. Her laughing, throwing her arms around him, and kissing him whenever he did something stupid. And then he thinks, she must have kissed me a lot. He recognizes, I'm a dunce.
I thought that was so cute because I was like, is he just feeling stupid right now because he can't remember anything? Or he just knows that he's constitutionally, like on a fundamental level, stupid.
I would love if Hera, when she decided what to keep and what to delete, just kept in, you're stupid.
You're dumb.
You don't make good decisions.
And you know it. Yeah. That's the only thing you know. You know you're dumb.
And as a treat, you get kisses when you're stupid. He worries that if he shares this memory, it may leave him, so he doesn't want to risk it. And this is very, very sweet. Raina says that most of this is just standard demigod practice, but she's never heard of anyone losing their memory before. She asks Percy, how did you find Camp Jupiter? And he recounts everything that we learned in chapters 1 and 2. Raina also thinks that he seems old for a newbie. She guesses that he's 16, and Percy says, no, I think sure, that sounds about right, yeah. All right, let's go with that. She thinks that it especially doesn't make sense because he's a son of Neptune, and I went, the title! By being a son of Neptune, he would attract many monsters. And Percy goes, yeah, I've been told that I smell.
Like a Greek sewer, they say, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Raina almost smiles, which gives Percy hope that she may be human after all. She thinks that he must have been somewhere pre-Wolf House. And this is so fun to do. Like, Rick is a genius for coming up with this idea. Because in the first book, Jason has no idea what's going on. We don't know what's going on with Jason. And as the reader, we're just like shaking our book like, what's happening? We don't know what's going on. On the flip side, now we know everything. And it's so fun to be in the opposite chair of like, we're the confused person, and now we're the super smart know-it-all.
Yeah, it's good.
Right, you are, Raina. He was somewhere, and we know exactly where. It's so fun.
He's still missing some time, though, right? So maybe he
Yes,
met
that's
Raina
something-
during that time, the missing time.
You are correct. Look at us figuring things out, and everyone in the audience is like, now you're the smart people. You know what's going on as the two buffoons on stage talk about things.
Figure out a book that's for 9-year-olds like a pro.
Hey, this book is probably for 10 to 12-year-olds. Double digits at least, right? But anyway, this is a very fun flip. I love it a lot. Percy has no clue about anything that's going on. The only thing that he really knows is that Lupa mentioned something about him slumbering. And he feels like he was asleep, perhaps for a long time, but it just doesn't make sense. Raina is satisfied that Percy is being honest because the dogs, who can sniff out liars, have not chomped him up yet.
That's a great superpower. I love that.
Percy asks, can I just take a polygraph next time? And then Raina begins, yes.
How does he know what a polygraph is? He doesn't.
Same reason that Jason knew that Eisenhower was a president. Hera, I'm imagining Hera do, like when you do a big file transfer, if you ever like partition a hard drive or like bring things over to a computer, and I feel like the folder is just like stupid crap, and Hera was like, yeah, whatever, or just like miscellaneous, and she was like, well, maybe something is important in there, drag it in there, and it's just like, oh, Vince Carter's number's getting retired by the Toronto Raptors, like.
Preparing for this, I did a Wikipedia deep dive on the different kinds of memory and which kinds tend to get lost during like amnesia.
Okay.
Yeah, and he wouldn't know what a polygraph is.
Oh,
Because
all right.
You don't remember like specific instances, right? Like you might remember like something like a cat. Like you remember what a cat is, but you might not remember a certain cat or petting a certain cat. And but like knowing what a cat is part of this implicit like non-conscious memory. And like a polygraph would not be that, right? Unless during those last months, Percy was a cop.
Yep. Oh no, not ACAB Jackson, no! No. Also, don't polygraphs like not work? Aren't they incredibly unreliable?
No, they're not. They
should only be used
virtually
for
pseudoscience. Yeah.
The only thing they should be used for is those Vanity Fair videos. I think it's Vanity Fair, one of those things.
Do you have a crush on Pedro Pascal? Yeah.
Yeah, just do that. Like when they had, I think it was they had the cast of Merrily We Roll Along, and Daniel Radcliffe. They asked him, like, that was a good one. That was very fun. I love when people give the brutally honest answers of that. That's great, and that's all that polygraph should be used for. Now, Percy Jackson. So Raina begins to pace. As a pacer, I love this. Pacer, person who walks back and forth, not someone on Indiana's National Basketball Association team. I would love to be a pacer, even though they hate the Knicks. That means I'm in the league. But no, she paces back and forth, which I love. Gosh, my step counter when I'm on phone call, skyrocket. So she begins to pace, and she finds his circumstance concerning, even if he's not an enemy. Juno doesn't just whisk demigods into camp. She says that she's only heard stories, bad ones, about major gods welcoming demigods into the camp. And Raina thinks that him being the son of Neptune compounds the worry, quote, especially now.
Okay, I need to know what this is.
Yeah.
Does she somehow know what's going on with the rise of Dirt Woman / Gaia? And if that's the case, then who's the
Thank you to the person in the crowd who went, Gia. Because we are calling her Gia.
Gia?
Oh, if you know, we're calling her Gia on the podcast now because the audiobook calls her Gia.
Everybody, it's Gaia though.
It is. Oh,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
1,000% is. But the audiobook calls
All
her
right.
Gia.
Okay, the
so I'm
audiobook?
calling her Gia.
All right,
And I
it's
get it's
Gia.
like Pangea, but I'm imagining Gia, Italian teenage girl.
Yeah, me too. I'm like Gia Tolentino, like the New Yorker columnist. Yeah, that's what I'm picturing. Anyways, yeah, is there an informant somehow? Like there's someone who's talking to Camp Jupiter?
At this point, we don't know. So Percy asks, one, what's wrong with Neptune? And two...
Cringy, apparently.
No, yeah, cringy.
In this universe, Neptune's...
Ew. And two, Percy asks, what do you
See?
mean, especially now? Hazel then gives Percy a look telling him to ease up, and then Raina keeps pacing, great vibe, and lists off concerning things. Fighting Gorgons that haven't been seen in thousands of years, agitating the Lairs into calling him Gracchus, and wearing strange items like an orange shirt and beads.
They're not used to much change at Camp Jupiter. It doesn't take much to throw them. Like, we've never seen that bracelet before. Who are you?
What's this necklace? Percy looks down, and the letters on his shirt are too faded to read. Very convenient. But I still love it. It's great. And it's also apparently torn up to bits, but Percy just cannot part with the shirt. He feels like he can't get rid of it, and I love that he can't get rid of it.
So if he's never seen what's on the shirt, he wasn't just asleep that whole time.
We don't know. Or I would love if, like, maybe he was asleep, and then Lupa knew that they had to do, so they just, like, ran it on the hot cycle.
They
They
strategically ruined the shirt so they
gotta
wouldn't
get these
spoil
things
him.
to fade. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Now, Percy looks at each bead.
Lupa's for the plot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Lupa is underneath the school of Chiron, of
Yeah.
course. Percy looks at each bead and wonders what they are. He does recognize the Empire State Building. Love that piece of knowledge stayed in there.
Implicit memory. Yeah.
But he also does get the feeling that they are important, so wants to keep those beads. Raina then asks about his sword, and Percy uncaps it, and then afterwards was like, oh, oops. maybe I shouldn't have done this immediately. He uncaps it, and then he then has the realization, oh, Raina, Hazel, and Frank have not seen this yet. Or so he thinks. Hazel is baffled. Raina recognizes it as an old Greek design that used to be in the armory previously. She knows that it's made of celestial bronze, which she compares to imperial gold. And of course, Percy goes, imperial gold? And Reyna then unsheaths her dagger that she's been fiddling with throughout this whole conversation and reveals that it is gold.
This is so, Reyna says they used to have these in the armory before ... Before the Greek-Roman split? Before the Civil War? How old is Reyna?
Reyna is like what a Chiron stand-in.
What is going on?
Planting so many seeds of what is happening.
Or is it, do you remember that there's an incident in the 1960s where they supposedly almost connected? So maybe it's there?
Which I have been corrected of, which is probably referencing the Cold War.
I was thinking Bay of Pigs, or
Yes.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that feels like a more logical reasoning for it. There's lots of different skirmishes, so it could be any of these.
It
A
could
lot
be
of them
Vietnam,
get referenced.
yeah, I don't know.
Reyna about this says, quote, "The medal was consecrated in ancient times at the Pantheon in Rome. Its existence was a closely guarded secret of the emperors, a way for their champions to slay monsters that threaten the empire. We used to have more weapons like this, but now, ... well, comma, we scrape by. Reyna!" She says, "I use this dagger. Hazel has a spatha, a cavalry sword. Most legionnaires use a shorter sword called a gladius, Latin word for sword. But
This is all going to be on the test, I think. We got to know this stuff.
during intermission, we will all be taking a Latin exam. But that weapon of yours is not Roman at all. It's another sign you're not a typical demigod." And I love that all of his things that are exceedingly normal in this world are exceedingly abnormal.
It's opposite day every day
It is
at
opposite
Camp
day
Jupiter,
at Camp
yeah.
Jupiter. Oh, wait, our purple and orange are up. No, blue and orange are on opposite sides of the color wheel. Ah, so close. Reyna then proceeds to explaining that his lack of tattoo is also concerning. Gosh, just such a
No
fun flip.
tattoos. Loser.
Weirdo! Hazel adds that all full members of the Legion have the tattoos. Reyna's tattoo has an emblem of a sword and a torch, plus 4 score marks. And Hazel has a cross with curved arms and a head, kind of like a person going like, woo! With like a horizontal line going across the bottom, very like, woo! She's only got 1 score mark. Narrator Percy says, quote, "Percy looked at his own arms. A few scrapes, some mud, and a fleck of crispy cheese and wiener, but no tattoos." How many crispy cheese and wiener references are we gonna get? Did Uncle Rick lose a bet where someone said, if I win, you have to write the phrase crispy cheese and wiener into your next book 5 times within the first 5 chapters.
Yeah, there is a snack available at Union Station that is remarkably close to a crispy cheese and wiener. It is called the cheesy dog bite. Dog bite, not a great name for a snack.
It is human food, yes?
Yes, it sounds like the name of an emergency, not a snack. Yeah, it is. I put a little picture in my...
Oh, okay, this is exactly what I had. Oh, it's from Wetzel's Pretzels, of course. So yeah, it is basically...
Recently expanded in
It's like a
Canada.
pig in a blanket wrapped in like a cheesy cheese bread of sorts.
It's like a cheesy pretzel kind of
I mean,
situation.
it looks great. Not great for you, but great.
Yeah, I've been picturing that somehow hanging off his arm.
Just like a flake. I get it.
flake,
Sometimes you
yeah.
have like a
little
croissant
crumb,
and then
yeah.
3 days, not 3 days. I shower, don't worry. 3 hours later.
You said that way too fast.
You find it on your pocket. So Percy doesn't have any sort of tattoo, just got some crispy cheese and wiener and some scars and stuff like that. Reyna knows that this means that Percy has never been a Legion member because the marks are unable to be removed. She starts to say, "I thought perhaps," but then trails off. Reyna, how many times are you going to do this to us?
More. It's not over.
What's fun is like these 2 chapters, I don't know that we're going to be able to finish these 2 chapters of the live show.
gonna
But, like,
give it an old
there's
college try.
so much actual information in these
I know.
2 chapters. And even so, Reyna has like 8 times where she's like, oh, maybe. Anyway, the next thing.
Somehow, so much information, yet not enough.
Not enough. So Hazel then chimes in to say that Percy may have seen Jason if he's been a loner all this time. And she asks Percy, have you seen a guy that kind of is similar to us in a purple shirt with marks on his arm, like our marks?
That would have come up.
I feel like probably he would have been like, oh,
Oh, the same tattoo says my friend Jason, which he didn't say. Come on.
that'd be so. Oh, yeah, Jason? Yeah. Reyna tries to rein Hazel in, saying that Percy has enough to worry about. And that's such a Chiron move to be like, oh, no. He's got too much in the brain. We can't talk about the plot we'll learn in 6 chapters. Percy then touches the point of Riptide and it becomes a pen again. Is this the first time that's ever happened? Is that how he makes Riptide a pen again? Has it ever been said before? Okay, it has happened before? Yeah. The cap? The cap to the tip. But isn't the cap small and the sword big?
I thought you clicked the cap.
No. That's the movie.
Oh, no.
It is standard little...
I've been found out.
It is
I
standard...
have watched the movie. I'm so sorry.
It is standard just like big cap pen, but like you would just put the cap on the tip of the sword? Okay, one person who feels very confident, you right there, and no one else. Mrs. Riley, and only Mrs. Riley. Yes.
So, sword tips are a lot smaller than you think they are.
Okay.
So, magic.
Yeah, okay.
That's why.
Said sword tips are smaller than you think you are, and also magic. Okay, valid. I take it. I stand corrected. Did he do this in the book at some point? Okay, I missed it. Sorry.
I've watched the movie with students a few times, and it does get in there, I'm afraid.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all good.
Sorry.
There's some things that are gonna bleed over. Some things are good. The clicking pen, dangerous for the thumbs. So maybe we leave that one behind. Putting the cap on top of a sword, more fun. But anyway, so Percy does this, makes it a pen again, and then he says, no, I haven't seen anyone like you. And then he asks the question that many of the people here tonight and listening to the podcast at home have asked at some point in time, who's Jason? Raina says, he is, ... he was my colleague, and then gestures to the empty chair. What did you say, sorry?
The drama.
The drama, indeed. Gestures to the empty chair. She explains that normally the Legion has 2 elected praetors. Jason was the other until he disappeared last October. And when they said last October, I was like, wait a second. The last book kind of ended it was December. So to say last October, we've marked into the new year. What month is it? I forgot that Juno had mentioned in the last chapter.
It's June.
That it's June.
Time has passed.
Yeah, I forgot about that. There was a long time between me doing the New York show and this show. Not a long time, but time feels like forever when you're a new dad. So Percy does some thinking and then recalls that Juno mentioned it was June. So Percy asks, you really haven't replaced this guy in 8 months? And now I'm thinking, okay, so this book is taking place after The Lost Hero. And then because we know that I think they said like in the summer they need to get going. So it seems like this book will, every Percy Jackson book is usually like a week or 2. This book will end sometime in June. And then immediately we got to go to Greece, y'all. So that's what I think is the timeline that we're going along with. And I'm very excited about it. So then we've got Hazel saying that they have not replaced him because he might still be alive, which I think is good. Raina grimaces, making Percy think that Jason is more than just a colleague for her. And I wrote, oh no.
The girl back home.
No.
The much worried about girl back home.
I know. Raina details that elections happen in one of 2 ways. 1, the Legion raises someone on a shield after a major battlefield success. Or they hold an election on June 24th at the Feast of Fortuna.
Classic Percy Jackson. It's in a few days.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good. I love a format. Great. So good. But yeah, I love that it's either cool, fun, awesome thing,
Don't fix it.
Yes, exactly. I love that
by the solstice. Whatever it is, it's by the solstice.
The
Get
sun
going.
and the moon will tell us. But yeah, I love that the 2 options are cool, fun, hyper intense thing or logistical thing.
Wait until election day.
Election day. Does Canada election day do anything fun? In Australia, they give you sausages. Do you guys do anything fun here, or do you just get stickers like we do?
Stickers. It's not. Yeah,
we got to do Australia. We need free food.
You do get a legally mandated, I want to say, 3 hours off of work to vote.
That's cool.
Yeah.
In America, they say no. Figure it out. You can early vote.
I think you can get up to if it's needed. I should check that but I think so. You have a right to vote. So if you have to work,
go vote, everybody.
Go vote. We're not having an election. When there is an election, you should vote.
Vote when you can.
Vote when there's an election.
And if you're an American here in the crowd tonight, vote. And you know who to vote for. So anyway. The other option is they hold an election on June 24th at the Feast of Fortuna, which is in 5 days, and which also looks like Fast and the Furious if you're reading the book quickly like I was, which would be very fun. But it is the Feast of Fortuna, and Percy frowns and asks, you have a feast for tuna? Perfect. No,
I really
perfect.
want there to somehow be something to do with enchiladas and Fortuna at the same time.
But tuna enchiladas sound so bad. Hazel corrects Fortuna, explaining that she is the goddess of luck, and what happens on her feast day sets the tone for the year. She can either give everybody some good luck or some very bad luck. Then the two girls glance at the empty display stand as if they are thinking about what was once there. Percy then recalls the Gorgons and Juno mentioning the Feast of Fortuna. They all said that the camp would be attacked on that day by Gia's army, and then quote something about death being unleashed.
Death, capital D, death.
Yes.
The guy, death, will be here.
Oh, so scary. Percy says this aloud to them and ends it with, quote, "You're telling me that day is this week?" As if he doesn't recognize he's
Do
in
you
a
know what
Percy Jackson
series
book.
you're in? It's in 5 days.
Look up, Percy. Your name's at the top of the page. Raina grips her dagger and tells Percy that he is to remain silent about this. She doesn't want any more panic to be going through the camp. This makes Percy confident that it will happen, and he asks Raina if she knows the details and if they can stop it. Narrator Percy shares that even though he just met these folks and he's not even sure if he likes Raina, he still wants to help them.
He wants to fight to the death for them.
Yes.
He's like, I love you already. Yeah.
Instinctual hero. He just wants to help them because they are demigods like him and they have the same enemies. Also, Percy was told by Juno that it's more than just the camp that's at stake. His old life, the gods, and the entire world might be
everything.
destroyed.
Yeah.
So, small picture, big picture, very holistic approach to the situation, very mature, heroic approach from our good friend Percy Jackson. Raina, a recent graduate from the School of Chiron's plot protection, says, quote, "We've talked enough for now." And instructs Hazel.
Look at all the chapters we still have. Stop it.
And instructs Hazel to take Percy to Temple Hill to find Octavian. She tells her to answer Percy's questions along the way and also tell him about the Legion. Quote, "Good luck with the augury, Percy Jackson. If Octavian lets you live, perhaps we can compare notes, ... about your past."
The sign did say certain death.
And this, to me, feels very Oracle-coded. In the previous chapter, Octavian felt like that could be a Mr. D type. But now this feels like Oracle. We will see in the next chapter what's actually going on. But this is the end of chapter 3. I have retitled it, I Pass a Lie Detector Test. What have you retitled it?
I said I got called a slur at sleepaway camp.
That's good. That's good. It's very, very good. Very good. Well, that is the end of this act. If you're listening at home, that is the end of this part of the episode. Let's all say goodbye to the podcast people. Goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to the Son of Fortune here in the Shubio with some updates about the podcast. So let's get into the updates about the podcast. Now, as you can probably tell by the title of this episode, we are going to be picking up the discussion of this book in the next episode with a chapter 4 breakdown, which will be part from Act 2 of this live show and then part from a recording that Genna and I did afterwards. Basically, didn't get to finish chapter 4 because it's also very long, but we did stream a portion of my coverage because the end of chapter 4 has a big plot twist. So the Zoom call Genna and I did for the podcast purposes was also streamed on Patreon. If you're any of the TNO tiers, you can watch it, but that's going to be next week's episode. What's going to happen after the break here is the Q&A. The Q&A was super fun. There were some fun Canadian specific and then also non-Canadian questions. So I would recommend listening to that after the break here. But then also, if you want to see the whole rest of the show, you can go to the Patreon, thenewslumpian.com/Patreon, because like I've been doing for a bunch of the shows on the tour recently, I had a camera on a tripod filming the whole thing. So you can see the entirety of the live show on video on Patreon. That'll give you a preview into what's to come in next week's episode. And then also that stream portion of the recording, you will also get to see and hear most of what will be the rest of that podcast episode. So if you really can't wait for next week's episode, you can basically listen to the whole thing by checking out those 2 videos on Patreon. Now, speaking of the Patreon, there is a new feature on Patreon, which I'm so excited finally exists. You can gift people Patreon now. So in the past, people had done it where, you would make an account for someone else and make it their name and all this kind of stuff. Now there is a simpler way to do it. And hey, holiday season is coming around. So if you want to see how to do that, go to thenewslumpian.com/Patreon. I'll have a post that should just link to Patreon's thing about gifting it. But if you need a last minute, oh crap, it's not enough time to ship for the holidays gift idea, idea. Ho, ho, ho. Patreon access, where you get access to bonus episodes and bonus audio and all these other fun, wonderful things. Ad-free episodes, early release episodes, 20% off things when they're on the shop for downloading. So many fun things, all available at theunityolympian.com/Patreon. And speaking of the Patreon, I'm going to give a shout out to the folks who've joined the Patreon most recently. Shout out to our newest demigod tier patron, German Gorgonzola Girl. I love taking a reference from the pod, putting it into the name from our last episode. Super fun. And also, I want to do a name correction for Alex DeLong. Thank you all so much for your support. May Demeter bless you so that when you are putting toast in the toaster, you set it to the right toasty setting and it doesn't get too burnt or not toasted enough. And speaking of holiday shopping, you can go to thenewsolympian.com/merch to get stuff. It might arrive in time for the holidays. I'm not exactly sure, but we do have a bunch of cool stuff on the merch store. We recently restocked the signed Heroes of Olympus posters as well as the beads. So cool stuff over there. Another cool stuff that is out there in the world, not merch related, I have set up a Blue Sky account for the Newest Olympian as well as myself. So if you want to follow the Newest Olympian's account, it's newestolympian.bluesky.social. And then if you want to check out my personal one, it's just Schubs, schub.es. So that's been a fun time, and I'm having fun posting over there because it's not scary and terrible and filled with weird advertisers and people yelling at me. So check us out over there. Now, if you're listening to this on the day it came out, which is Monday, December 2nd, that means tomorrow we will be in Vienna, Virginia for a live show of the Newest Olympian. Johnny will be the guest. Sherry will be running the Q&A. It's going to be a blast. At least as of a couple of days ago, we were at 136 tickets sold, so it's going to be a raucous crowd. Super stoked about it. Make sure you get your tickets at thenewsolympian.com/live. It's going to be a very fun show. We're going to be covering chapters 17 through definitely 19 and maybe into 20 if we can get into it, just because I think that would fit really well, but it just comes down to how much can we get through during the show. But it's going to be such a fun one. You got to come through. The place is really cool too. Love this venue. They have good food, good drinks. It's got a ton of parking because it's just in like a mini mall kind of thing. So I'm so stoked for this show in particular. And then I'm also very excited about our other shows in December. December 15th will be in Dallas, Texas, and December 16th will be in Austin, Texas. And then I'm super stoked for all the other shows happening in 2025, which I got to start calling 2020 Live. Thank you to the suggestion of Louise on the TNO Discord. But 2020 Live has some good shows coming up. We've got Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Maryland, Richmond, Virginia, Houston, Texas, St. Paul, Minnesota, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Des Moines, Iowa, Chicago, Illinois, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Montreal, Quebec, and Buffalo, New York. You can get tickets to all those shows at thenewestolympian.com/live. And I am very, 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 very excited for this tour, and I hope that you come through. It will be a blast. Now, unless you're listening on Patreon where you get access to ad-free episodes, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors, make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of those ads will be read by me, and some of them won't be. The ones that aren't read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in Tanzania, don't be surprised if you hear an ad in Swahili or English, because the internet tells me that those are both official languages of the country. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back into this episode of The Newest Olympian. We've got a little bit of time to do some Q&A, so we will do that now. Shout out to folks who sent in questions. I will pull these up, and we will do as many as we can before we get very politely ushered off of the stage by this very nice venue. Got a lot of emails. This first one is from Christy. Christy says, if you were going to get a Percy Jackson tattoo, what would you get? If we were going to get Percy Jackson tattoos, what would you get? I don't know off the top. I feel like I would want to get like some sort of quote as opposed to like an image of sorts. I guess I should probably pick something from the book and not something that like I've said, but like I don't want to, it's not because it's a Percy Jackson tattoo.
You heard it here.
And not a TNO
Mike
one.
Schubert wants to get a quote from himself.
I don't want to.
As a tattoo.
What I'm trying to say is I should probably get a quote of something like actually from the book and not like something that I've like turned into a joke from the book, a la Fliptide or Anyway Percy Jackson or something like that. Do you have a thought if you got a Percy Jackson tattoo? As I scroll and try to think of my Percy Jackson tattoo?
Child of Demeter, loaf of bread. Easy.
Oh, it's good. Maybe I would get, this would be cool actually, like the winged basketball shoes, since they were confirmed to be
really
basketball
cool.
shoes.
And you love
that
basketball.
Would be cool.
Yeah,
I
I
do
think
love
that's
basketball.
very on brand.
And I'm just hoping that in one of these books, Percy challenges a monster to a game of one-on-one. But we will
There's going to be more books.
Have to see. Okay, this next question comes
Rick,
from
if you're listening.
Nicole. The subject line says T-shirt, but the T stands for tour. Mike, you've met quite a few people so far that may or may not be important. So my question is, what sport would each person play in Wii Sports, regular and resort, and how good would they be at it? So I have not played Wii Sports Resort, so I'm old.
The only thing I remember about Wii Sports is how you step on the scale and it went,
The real thing, Wii Sports Resort, was that also the Wii, or did that come out for like Wii U?
Oh,
that
I'm
was
thinking of Wii. I'm thinking of
then I'm
Wii
thinking.
Fit.
Okay.
Darn them.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like one of the new things like Wii U. I've never owned a Nintendo system, so I only have like friends playing Wii stuff with. But I have played Wii Sports. So I guess Reina, because of the violence, obviously Wii Boxing, which is just like blah, 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 beat the crap out of people. I guess we can get Percy in the mix.
Swimming, yeah? Is there swimming?
No. Oh. At a resort, there's no swimming? That's why I haven't played this sham of a game. Let's see. I would say Hazel and her mystery brother would be tennis because you play the doubles and it's very fun. But Percy, I don't know if it's in Wii Sports, but there definitely is like a Wii basketball thing. I don't think it's in original Wii Sports though. That might be a resort.
You're manifesting the future basketball.
I know he's not in this book, but Jason would be Wii Sports baseball because he's American. Oh, God, I wonder if the Yankees are winning because that game's been going on the whole time. Now we're in the Q&A so I can do this. Oh, yeah, we're up 6-5 at the top of the ninth. Let's go. Sorry, there's this thing called the playoffs, and if your team is actually good, you make the playoffs. Suck it, Vlad Guerrero Jr., jerk. So you guys have a baseball team called the Toronto Blue Jays. Okay. Anyway... What other Wii Sports is there? Bowling. I guess we'll give it to Frank. Let's give Frank bowling.
Who's that? Fidelis, who was described, I don't know if that's how you say his name, he's described as having a medicine ball belly. I feel like he should do the bowling.
Oh, that's good for Vitellius, yeah.
Vitellius.
Yes, there it is. Great. Also, because Halloween is coming up and I've caught up on the pod, PJO couples costumes, as in what would the couples in PJO/HO dress as together? Inspired by me going, I wonder if I could convince my partner to do Melly and coach Hedge with me. Do that.
It'd be very cute.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it.
Satyr would be, you're gonna have to do some serious arts and crafts.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So couples in PJO, they're going as things together. So it's not like dressing up as PJO stuff. But if we've got some PJO couples, Percy and Annabeth, I mean, definitely she's gonna do the thing where like she's in like a very, very intense outfit, and then Percy's like an accessory.
I was thinking Dorothy and Toto.
She would definitely put him in something very embarrassing. That's very good. That's very good. Trying to think of other couples. I guess Juniper and Grover. That could be something fun if they did like a very nature-based type thing. I could see Grover, with his love of coffee, wanting to be some sort of coffee-related thing. They could do something like really cute where they could be like, we're cream and sugar because we go together. Like, I think they'd do something super cutesy.
Grover already having the bottom half of a goat. I think he should lean into that and dress his top half as a hoofed animal as well. So I was thinking reindeer and Santa.
Oh, very fun. That's good. That's very good. Many thanks, Nick. I've gotten 6 people into the pod. It's my proudest accomplishment. Thank you, Nick. Oh, hey, from before. Thank you, Nick. All right, let's keep
Nick,
it going.
I am going to have a new podcast to tell you about.
So this one says,
we'll get there.
Toronto's traffic is just as bad as New York City, but with worse public transportation. I'll buy it. I did take some public transportation today, though. I took the up out of the airport, the UP Express. I bought the wrong ticket, and the lady very politely told me that I was not supposed to buy the go.
No, different thing. Yeah.
Well, I knew the destination I had to transfer at, so I put that into the thing, and then it was like, go here, and then I did, and then she was like, you should have bought a different ticket, and then I looked online. I was like, did I spend too much money or not enough money? And I spent not enough money. Come get me, King Charles. You're gonna have to get $6 Canadian off my dead body. But then I took the subway and it was chill. The subway was fun. Anyway, yo, I have a couple kiss, marry, kill questions for you guys. All right, Riptide, Fliptide, Rachel Elizabeth Dare's hairbrush. I'm going
what
to...
does the hairbrush do again?
It defeats the Lord of Time. I will be marrying the hairbrush, obviously. I will be kissing Riptide and killing Fliptide because I would rather have a pen than a coin that I can't spend. At least there's multiple functions for Riptide.
We've
never seen them use it as a pen. I wonder if he'll ever write something with it. That'd be so good if he actually writes with the pen at some point.
At the end, when it's like we're truly, that they fought the big bad, the battle's over, should sign the peace agreement.
Yes, please. All right, what's your kiss, marry, kill for Riptide, Fliptide, the Rachel Elizabeth Dare hairbrush as I brush my hair?
I will marry a hairbrush because I just always like to have a hairbrush with me.
Very useful.
I think it's the same.
Nice.
Because I would like to kiss Riptide. It's like close to my heart. You know, the OG. And I don't care about Fliptide.
Yeah.
We just met.
Yeah, I know. And he's gone already.
Yeah.
All right, 2. Sally's apartment, the cabin in Montauk, and the big house. I want to marry Sally's apartment because in my brain, that means I don't have to pay rent. because I'm married to it.
Think smarter.
So I get free rent in New York City. I'll take that. I will kiss the big house so I can go there, and I will kill the cabin in Montauk 'cause I don't want to go to Long Island. Ugh. I guess the big house is in Long Island, but at least
Montauk
it's
looks so beautiful. I'll marry Montauk.
Okay, and then
I'll
what do you
marry
do with the
Montauk.
other
I'm
ones?
going to stay out there and just chill in my cabin in
Okay.
the ocean.
What are you kissing and killing?
I don't remember what the big house is.
It's the main place where Chiron says vague plot things.
Too much stuff's going on. I don't
Yeah.
need. That is not my business.
Great.
I'm not concerned about. No.
All right. Then the final one.
But godly parent, God of hanging out, chilling. I do not want to get sent on a quest. I will not be
Unless it's to
partaking.
the grocery store.
To get bread. That's the most. That's the most I'm doing. Yes,
final.
I'm killing the big house, and I'll kiss the apartment. I wouldn't mind a rent-free apartment in New York City.
Final one. Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. I will marry Poseidon. I will kiss Hades, and I will kill Zeus.
I'd like to defeat death. I
Oh, fun.
will kill Hades. Yeah, no question. It's kiss and marry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll kiss Zeus, and I'll marry Poseidon. He's
Nice.
very handsome in the show.
Very good, very good. Okay, this is
The thing
from,
where he like grabs the sword. Oh,
is it Casual and Vince? Okay, sweet. So, Casual and Vince, subject line, thank you for not saying the second T in Toronto. It has been in my brain every single time I say it. I'm like, don't say it, they'll hate you. Hey, Mike, would you rather be in Percy's position or Jason's now that you know Percy lost his memories too, i.e. Percy having no recollection of his life and people he loves, or Jason, who wakes up and has a complete fake life written for him? Definitely Percy's. Fake life written for me would be so bad because what if it's better? Or what if there are parts of it I like? And especially now his weird girlfriend situation, like I would not want that at all. This is why I never want to like have like the sliding doors moment or the thing where they're like, oh, would you ever want to see like other realities? No, because what if I'm doing better?
You can barely handle one reality.
This life is doing pretty good. I got a good situation going on in work and life and other things. I'm going to take it. So I will stick with what I've got. I don't want to have a fake life that I'm like, oh no, what could have been? What about you?
I don't want a fake life.
Yeah.
I can barely handle one. Yeah.
Now this has a PS. Consider adding a disclaimer to your podcast. My humor may be injurious to your health. I've almost dropped weights at the gym on myself because you and your guests are hilarious. You should always have a spotter. All right. Okay. This is from Charlotte. Subject line, House Hippos are real. Don't listen to Wikipedia. Hi, Mike. Not sure if you've heard, but tonight in Toronto is Nuit Blanche, which means there's a bunch of free art installations / performances happening all around the city. Highly recommend checking out if you have time after the show. I don't. My flight's at like 8 a.m.
I recommend checking it out. And I have a dear friend who's doing art at Nuit Blanche, and his project is called Blob-TO. So you should look up Blob-TO. That it's a wonderful project. It reflects on the weird gray blobs that the city paints over the graffiti.
Fun.
Yeah. It's really good.
I dig it.
I believe you can read about the art on a website. I'm pretty sure it's blob.to if you would like to look.
Great. The question from Charlotte is, what kind of art, painting, sculpture, collage, music, theater, etc., do you think some of the major PJO characters would do the best at? I feel like Grover would be good at making a sculpture out of like a shrubbery. That's going to be my pick for him. You know, you like trim hedges
And
into
he could just chew it. He wouldn't need any tools.
Yes, he would do it with his mouth. That's great. Yeah. Do you have an art selection for any of the campers?
Well, I would like to teach one of them maybe I knit and crochet, so maybe I could. And I just want to chill and hang with Annabeth. So I would like to teach Annabeth how to crochet.
Great. I love that. Okay. So this is going to be the final question. This is fun. The subject line, much like everything I saw in the airport today. Welcome to Canada. Bienvenue au Canada.
It was the biggest day when Twitter got 280 characters, because now we could do everything in English and French.
Oh, God. If I was Canadian, I would do that. I would make it'd be so fun. But then what if the French is longer? Oh, no. So this is from Cass. Hi, Mike. Loving the show. Here are 3 different questions. Feel free to pick your favorite. So I like this one. Which characters would you want on your softball team, and what position would they play? Jason, he just feels like a center fielder because he's American, and he feels like he'd be very good. Percy, I think, seems kind of quick. I could throw Percy at shortstop. Grover feels like a catcher, just feels like a catcher. Annabeth feels like a pitcher. And Clarice, first baseman, just like big, stocky, hit him real hard. I like the yup from bearded guy who's definitely played a lot of softball. So perfect. Great. Now, Final question, which I think is fantastic. If you had to assign a Canadian treat to the various PJO-HO characters, who would be what?
Oh, I can do this.
Okay, great. Let me do my uninformed version because I have limited things, and I did go to the grocery store to purchase all of them today. So first, I'm going to say Percy is a bag of Maynards, just because he likes sweet candy treats and stuff. I'm sure one of them are blue, but I always get the fuzzy peach ones because they are divine. Then I'm going to say that Annabeth is a bag of Ruffles all-dressing chips because she's got a little bit of everything. And she is perfect, much like those chips. Ketchup chips are fine. They've made their way over to the US. Why have all dressing chips not made their way over? I'm so mad about this.
The American palate can't tell the difference between all dressed and barbecue. Because
I can.
I have a minor in college on those videos where it's people try Canadian snacks.
Oh,
and
okay,
they
yeah.
never can tell the difference. They always say, oh, these are barbecue chips.
That's not true. Oh, God, I'm going to destroy a bag of those when I go home after.
They're pretty good.
And then I would say Grover is a coffee crisp, obviously. Loves coffee, no-brainer. Tyson is a beaver tail, because it's a fun, overly sugary treat. I did not get a beaver tail. It's okay, I've had them before. I don't know, what am I going to do? Leave it in the apartment to get cold for it? Maybe I'll get one tonight. We'll see. What is your official designated Canadian correct answer to this question as we conclude the show on this note?
I think Annabeth is a Putin. She's very reliable.
Oh, the pronunciation. Oh.
It was taught well. I would say Jason is a butter tart because he's the true neutral.
Okay.
Yeah. Grover is a Nanaimo bar because he contains layers, right? He seems like a goofball, but actually it's really complex. There's layers. Yeah.
These look cool. All right. Next time. All right.
They're really good frozen. It's true.
All right.
And Percy is, because he's like the original and best, he is the mint flavor Girl Guide cookie.
Oh, okay. I did pass people selling
Girl Guide cookies.
Yeah, they look like Girl Scout cookies of sorts, and I was like, they're probably the same with different names.
They're different.
They're different, but you said, is it just like the Thin Mint? Is it different
maybe.
from the Thin Mint?
I said that like I know what Girl Scout cookies are. Like,
they're different.
instantly walked it back. Wait a minute, I don't know anything about Girl Scout cookies.
I love it. You went from full expertise to I have no idea what I'm talking about. Perfect way to end the show. Thank you all so much for coming out. Give yourselves a round of applause for making it out to the show. Give it up to designated Canadian Genna Buck for being an incredible guest. Listen to Pages Past whenever it becomes a live thing. Get your bookmark if you haven't. You can come get after show as well.
I have a new show coming out really, really soon. And if you would like to learn about it, you can pick up a free bookmark. And it has a little thing on it where you can subscribe right from there using a little funky-dunky little QR code. I printed enough bookmarks for every single person to have one if they would like.
Let's go.
And there's some at the merch table.
Yes. And speaking of, give a shout out to Daniel Verona at the merch table. And him and his wife, Gabby, for hooking me up with a place to stay. Huge, so thank them, their whole family, for their hospitality. Give it up to them. And give it to everyone here at Adelaide Hall and from MRG. Just like such a smooth
Thank you so
process.
much.
Just really good, from organizing the show to setting everything up to sound to hospitality. Like everything's super smooth. So give it up to everyone who behind the scenes made the show possible. The lighting is good. Everything is good. Everything's fantastic. So shout out to them. But seriously, thank you all so much. This was an absolute blast. I really do appreciate it. But I got to get going because my flight is soon. So I will definitely come back. Obviously, got to make my way back because I got to try these. What were they? The Nano what bar? The Nanaimo bars? Nanaimo bars. Definitely coming back, and I'm going to eat 1 million of those, and I will report back on stage. But until that happens, and I report, until then, I'll
See you later.
Thanks so much for coming out, everybody!
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Newest Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campamontes and Brandon Grugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you love the podcast and you just can't get enough, there's a couple of different things you can do. First, you can go to thenewestolympian.com/Patreon. You can join the Patreon, and you can get access to a whole bunch of fun bonus content. You can also follow us on social media. We're at Newest Olympian on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. There's also a subreddit, reddit.com/r/thenewestolympian. And there's also the TNO Discord, Discord, which you get access to by joining any TNO tier on the Patreon. You can learn all about the show at thenewsolympian.com, and you can get some sweet TNO merch at thenewsolympian.com/merch. I've mentioned the Patreon, so let's give a shout out to our producer level patrons: Kelsey Gillespie, The Damn Steam Nuggets, Vicky Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Sabrina Balsiger, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Josh Sayer, Josh Wilkie, Abby Ryan, Marco Redhouse, Sam Reeby, Mrs. O'Leary, Milo Kim, Sandkoff, Rika, Ryla Matthews, Sky Mallory, Persasabeth, Aiden Parziani, Grace, Ginger Spurs Boy, A Cup of Solace, Bradimus Prime, Skylar Sisters, Scott Sheldon, Sophie, Natanya Page, Ann M. Thayer Cohen, Bella, Percy Jacked Son, Han, Haley Hingelheimer Schmidt, Catherine Sloan, Jessica Phillips, Haley Mary, Jim Jam Koopy, Kit Kat Crumbs, and Andrea, not Andrea. If you want to support the show in a non-monetary way, just tell someone about the podcast. It really does help a lot, whether that is you reaching out to someone directly who you think might enjoy the podcast. Maybe they're a big Percy Jackson fan, maybe they've been looking for an excuse to read the books, or if you post about the show on social media, or you leave us a rating and review on whatever podcasting app you're using. Truly, all of these things help. I really appreciate anyone who has done it in the past, and I also appreciate anyone who will do it in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and I hope you tune into our next episode, where we will be joined again by designated Canadian Genna Buck, both live in Toronto and then also not live, so it's a little half and half episode. We'll be covering chapter 4 of The Son of Neptune, but until then, I'll pursue you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR Mick. So in this episode, we talked about the black toonie and how I was very excited about the black toonie. And someone did end up gifting me a black toonie when we were going to break for intermission. I was talking about the merch table and stuff. I was like, yo, if anyone has a black toonie to pay with, please pay with a black toonie. And I have one. So now for this ASMR mix, I'm just going to like flip it a couple of times and then see if I get heads or tails. I don't even know. Let's see. Tails appears to be like a polar bear, and then heads is the late queen. All right, so let's flip it. That would be the queen. So we got a heads. Let's just do 5. See what we get. The queen again. So 2 in a row already. Oh, dropped on the laptop there. Ooh, heads again. 3 queens. 4 queens. Are we going to go 5 for 5? Is this because I've been making fun of her on the pod? 5 for 5. That's wild. Anyway, thank you for listening.